I quit the rat race at 64 years old. Would have liked to have done it sooner. I have my reasons why, and I can explain that some other time. But I quit at 64 years old, and what surprised me the most wasn't the money, the boredom, or the fear. It was how wrong everything I had been told actually was. For most of my life, I believed everything that I had been taught, and that is work hard, stay busy, keep pushing forward, because stopping is dangerous. If you stop, you're going to shrivel up and die. But somewhere along the way, the rat race stopped feeling like it was a temporary arrangement in my life and started to feel like it was permanent, a permanent ordeal. But here's the truth that almost no one tells you. You don't realize how trapped you are until you finally step off the wheel. And that's just the truth. So today I'd like to share with you 4 things that no one tells you about retirement, and I will leave you to form your own judgments about this. Number 1, I didn't miss what I thought I would miss. That is, after I left. Now, everyone warned me that, Ronnie, you're going to miss the structure. You're going to miss having a sense of purpose. You're going to miss the people, the routine of it all. You're going to miss your coworkers and so forth. And what I actually ended up missing was almost nothing. And that's the truth. What I didn't expect was the level of relief that I experienced. I've mentioned it before, but there was no more Sunday night anxiety, no more answering emails on the job or after hours, no more waking up in the morning dead dog tired. I would wake up in the morning feeling more tired than I was when I went to bed the night before. No more having to deal with toxic managers and so forth. I didn't lose my purpose whenever I left the rat race. I lost the pressure that I was living with. That's what I lost. Number 2, time feels completely different to me right now. When you're in the rat race, your time is being tracked. It's being followed. You're on the clock. 8 hours a day, 40 or 50 hours a week, you're always being tracked and monitored. Your time is being used for someone else and someone else's purposes. Your time is being spent for something else. Well, after I quit, time softened for me. My days stopped being a blur of being on the clock and one day just blurring into the next day. My morning stopped being a mad dash out the door and gulping down a cup of coffee only to get stuck in traffic on the morning commute on the way to work. I could finally think without having to rush on to the next obligation. Time really did soften for me, and let me give you an idea. For instance, my wife and I, we always enjoy slow mornings. This morning, we got up early before daylight, like most mornings. We had coffee, and then about 1 or 2 hours later, I cooked breakfast for the 2 of us. We take turns doing that back and forth. Today was my turn, and so I cooked grits and eggs and sausage, and get this, I even made some French toast for the 2 of us, topped off with maple syrup. And you know what? It was great. And here's the thing. Before time softened, I could never do that before because I didn't have the time. Now here's what no one tells you. When work leaves your life, your nervous system finally catches up. And what that means is your body is finally able to process the stress and chaos and de-stress itself because now it feels safe enough to do so. In other words, a certain kind of healing takes place. At least that's what happened to me. For me, having time now to be outdoors in nature, out there on the open water, is more therapeutic and helpful for me than almost anything else I could do. Certainly more helpful than another bottle of pills. After I retired, I could feel the stress leaving my body and draining from my body and leaving me calm like a quiet lake after a storm. And that's exactly how I felt. It just like this raging storm just leaked out of me, and just like a calm lake and the surface is just calm and slick across the top, that's exactly how I felt. Number 3, another thing that people will never tell you is you're probably, well, at least I was more burned out than what I realized, and you're probably more burned out than what you realize as well. Now here's a hard one. I didn't realize how exhausted I was until I wasn't exhausted anymore. Isn't that profound? It really is. I just didn't know how exhausted I was until I wasn't exhausted anymore. And guess what? I'm not exhausted anymore. When you're in the rat race, the machine, it normalizes fatigue. It convinces you that being drained and run down all the time is just a part of being adulthood. Well, guess what? It isn't. It's chronic survival mode when you're like that. When you experience stress on the job day after day after day, here's what happens. You just learn how to lean into the wind and power your way through. And you do that day after day and week after and month after month and year after year. But then over time, it just begins to stack up and stack up and stack up until one day you're walking around with what feels like a low-grade fever. And you don't even realize it because this feeling of a low-grade fever and a lack of sleep has now become your new normal. It is your walking normal. Now, speaking only for myself here, whenever I was working, I had seasons when I had the kind of fatigue that sleep didn't fix. I would wake up the next morning and I didn't feel rested at all. In fact, probably even worse than I did the night before. And you know what? That's no way to live. And stepping away from that didn't make me lazy. It made me human again. That's what it did. Number 4, simple is enough for me. I used to think that freedom looked big, that freedom was expensive and lavish, that it was over the top, impressive, but freedom's nothing like that at all. Freedom is quiet mornings, unscheduled afternoons, naps on Wednesday afternoon, and going to bed at night without dread in your heart. And here's something that nobody ever tells you about this, and this is just the absolute truth if I've ever told it. When you stop chasing more, what you already have finally feels like enough. Because it is. I'm retired now, and you know what? I'm perfectly content with what I have, and I'm perfectly content with what I've retired with. I don't have anything excessive, but what I do have is more than enough. And you know why? Because I'm free. Because I'm free. I'm no longer a wage slave to the man. I'm just free. And simple is enough for me. Here's the biggest thing that nobody tells you. The rat race isn't just about money. It's about identity. When you leave work, you don't just stop working. You stop performing because you no longer have to. There's no more performance reviews, No more performance reviews on the job. No more sensitivity training. No more having to keep your supervisor happy. No more kowtowing to the party line to keep the board of directors happy. No more jumping through the hoops. No more being an organ grinder's monkey. Know why? Because you have finally escaped the performance trap. Because whenever you walk away from all of that, you realize how peaceful it really is to no longer prove your worth. That's the kind of thing that people don't tell you about retirement. And that's the kind of thing that we need to know. Quitting the rat race at 64 didn't shrink my life because I didn't have a purpose and a schedule and a routine and people. It didn't shrink my life. It gave it back to me. My life is now mine again. And if you're still on the job, tired and afraid to stop, just know this: there is a better life waiting for you. There really is. And if simple is enough, you can get there. Because it costs a lot less than what you have been told. Really, it does. If this video resonates with you, you're not alone, because this channel is about resilience, simplicity, and choosing freedom. Maybe later than planned, but still right on time. I would love for you to leave me a comment, because when you do, I love reading your story. Others will read your story as well, and they will be encouraged. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm Ronnie. Take care, and we'll see you next time.